Today, we are diving into one of the biggest economic shifts of our lifetime. Seriously, it's a story about a massive amount of money, but it's also about a clash of generations and the wild technology that's caught right in the middle. So let's get into it. Take a look at that number, $83 trillion. That is the insane amount of wealth that is literally changing hands right now. But this isn't just about money moving from one account to another. Oh no. It's a complete rethink of who holds the capital and, more importantly, how they want to manage it. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the mind-blowing scale of this wealth transfer. Then we'll get into what the new generation inheriting all this actually wants. We'll look at tokenization as the bridge between old and new, uncover the three big hurdles in the way, see how the smart money is building for the future, and wrap it all up with the trillion-dollar question facing the entire industry. Okay, first up, the great wealth transfer. Again, that $83 trillion figure is almost too big to comprehend. But the real story here isn't just the number of zeros. It's about who is getting this capital and what they plan to do with it. And check this out. Over the next couple of decades, that $83 trillion is passing down to Millennials and Gen Z. Now look at that slice of the pie. Some experts are forecasting that a whopping $4 trillion of that could be tokenized, moved onto the blockchain, by just 2030. That is a game-changing shift. So this massive handoff is creating, well, a pretty serious clash of financial mindsets. You've got the old guard, the traditional way of managing wealth, and it's slamming right into a brand new set of expectations from a generation that grew up with a smartphone in their hands. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have the senior decision makers. They're comfortable with what they know: real estate, trade, energy. To them, digital assets often look volatile, untested, maybe even scary. But then you look at their heirs. For them, digital exposure isn't some crazy gamble. It's table stakes. It's the bare minimum. They expect everything to be digital first. So how in the world do you connect these two universes? How do you bring that traditional wealth into this new digital-first era? Well, the answer seems to be a technology that's acting as a bridge, and that's tokenization. So what is tokenization really? In the simplest terms, it's about taking real-world stuff and putting it into the digital world. Think about it. You take something you already own, like a building or a piece of a company, and you create a digital token that represents it on a blockchain. Suddenly, that asset can be managed and traded instantly online, but you're still playing by familiar rules. And here's the process. You start with a real-world asset, create a digital token for it, and issue it on-chain. And just like that, you can manage it with the speed of the internet. This completely changes how fast capital can move. Something that used to take years of paperwork can now get done in days. And that is the kind of speed the next generation just expects. And believe me, this isn't just a cool idea. It's happening all over the world right now. You've got these global hotspots popping up. In the Middle East, Dubai is managing over $1 trillion in family office money. In Asia, you're seeing Chinese family offices get more into crypto, while trading is surging in places like Korea. It's like a global race to see who can attract all this new capital. But, okay, if tokenization is so great, why isn't everything already tokenized? Well, even with all this momentum, the road isn't exactly smooth. There are some pretty big, hidden hurdles that are slowing this whole thing down. It's the key question, right? If this is the future, what's the holdup? And it really boils down to three main sticking points: regulation, infrastructure, and that generational divide we talked about. Let's dig into each one. So the first wall that a lot of these families hit is regulation. It's just a messy, complicated patchwork all over the globe. You've got these big crypto rules called MiCA in Europe, proposed laws like the Genius Act in the US, and totally new rules for things like stablecoins in Asia. For a family with money all over the world, trying to navigate this is a nightmare. It creates uncertainty, and that makes capital just sit on the sidelines. The second hurdle is what we'll call the infrastructure gap. You can have all the best rules in the world, but if the plumbing leaks, you've got a problem. A lot of these family offices just don't have the right tools: the custody desks, the reporting software, the governance, to manage tokenized assets safely and at scale. And without that solid foundation, digital assets stay a small experimental bet instead of a core part of the strategy. And that leads right into the third hurdle, the human element, that generational split. This quote just nails it.
The older generation in the boardroom says no because they see risk and volatility. Meanwhile, the younger heirs who see digital as non-negotiable start quietly looking for anyone who will say yes. This isn't just a family argument. It's a huge risk of capital walking out the door.
But here's the cool part. This new wave of capital is not going to just wait around for the old guard to catch up. The really smart wealth managers, they're already figuring out how to turn these hurdles into a massive competitive advantage. So instead of waiting for some perfect global rulebook to appear, they're treating regulation like a toolkit. They're literally stacking different jurisdictions. Maybe they use Dubai to issue a token, then use Abu Dhabi's legal system for handling disputes. It may be Bahrain for Sharia-compliant finance. They're building a custom framework that bends instead of breaks. And get this, they're using tech to solve the family drama. Forget those endless boardroom arguments. Now you can build the rules right into a smart contract. You can give the heirs wallet-based voting so they can move fast, but you give the seniors veto keys so they still have oversight. It's the best of both worlds, hard-coded and transparent. And finally, that infrastructure gap we mentioned, it's not an impossible wall to climb. It's just a project that needs building. Custody, reporting, governance, these are all solvable problems. By building out professional-grade systems, managers prove to these families that digital portfolios can be run with the same discipline as any other asset class. And once you do that, all the excuses just disappear. So all of this is leading to a huge choice. And it's not just for one or two firms, it's a choice for the entire wealth management industry. Because the ground is shifting under their feet, whether they're ready for it or not. This quote from our source material really says it all. The money is going to move. It always does. This change is coming. The only real question is who's going to be there to guide it and who's going to be left waving from the shore. And that brings us to our final thought for today. The great wealth transfer is happening, and tokenization is the bridge being built for it. So the real trillion-dollar question is this. Is the traditional wealth industry going to pick up the tools and help build that bridge for the next generation, or are they just going to stand back and watch trillions of dollars find another way to cross?